Remember that expression, it's the economy, stupid? Coming into play here for Joe Biden. You see, his team, per multiple reports, is relying on the economy to be the number one issue that just soars them into 2024. Good luck on that, guys. Brand new poll out, brand new poll that shows the majority of voters disapprove of President Biden's sluggish economy. You see, Bidenomics ain't all it's cracked up to be. This is now the top issue heading into 2024. I get it, right? Because, sticker shock when suddenly the value meal at a McDonald's, granted it's Manhattan, but still, the value meal at a McDonald's is some $16 in New York City. Well, you start to say maybe that Bidenomics stuff just isn't working. Well, Americans, they're on board with this idea. They know it's not working because the poll finds that 59% of the country believes that Biden cannot handle the economy. In fact, the poll's finding highlight effectively this major vulnerability because under the Trump administration, don't forget, you actually had record economic growth up until March of 2020. But overall, the majority, 59%. Wow. I mean, this is huge. Disapprove of Joe Biden's handling of the economy. I'd like to know who actually thinks he's doing a decent job. Who are those 39%? Anyway, 31%. Here we go. Republicans. 97% of Republicans believe Biden's doing a bad job at handling the economy. Again, 3% that think he's actually doing a good job. You got me. But here, interestingly, only 18% of Democrats think he's doing a bad job. But the independents, they come back to kill you because 61% of independents, well, they get it. They know that Biden is doing a bad job at handling the economy. Look, this inflation is real. I know we got slightly better numbers most recently, but I can assure you that those slightly better numbers that the Fed is all excited about, I'm not so sure they're here to stay. I don't think deflation, quote unquote, which by the way, you don't want deflation anyway, but they're talking about that over at Walmart. The Walmart CEO is saying, hey, prices are coming down and that's going to maybe help us out. I don't think they're coming down enough. And I don't think they're coming down in ways that are actually beneficial to everyday Americans. So as a result of this, I would just point out what I think is pretty obvious, and that's that Bidenomics is not working. I mean, look, you just look at everything, right? The amount of money it costs you to fill up your car, the amount of money it costs to make sure you get groceries every week, the amount of money it costs when you go out to dinner, everything's gone up. And even if you see a slight leveling off this month, or just not even that, just breaking even, right? Staying even. It's not enough to actually make a dent and make a difference. And what's amazing to me is how these people just keep saying, all right, we just need to tell the American public it's working. It's working, it's working, it's working. Bidenomics is working. And they think if you can keep saying that and saying that and saying that somehow it'll sink in. And my headline to the Bidenomics crowd is, you know what? Americans aren't as stupid as you think. Let me go through the poll, which actually looks at sort of the specific issues. Okay, it's finding that the economy is the number one issue for voters. It outranks, shocker, climate change. It outranks abortion, and it outranks preserving our democracy. 28% of the country says the economy is the number one issue, preserving democracy. 17% immigration, 12%. Gun violence, 12%, climate change, 5%, abortion, 3%. The poll sampled 1,574 registered voters from November 9 through the 13th, 2023, with a 2.5% margin of error. But really, again, bottom line, you don't have to be a rocket scientist to figure it out. Americans do not like Bidenomics. They realize how different their lives are as a result of Joe Biden's failed economic policies. I told you this would happen, by the way. I hate to say I told you so, but there was no way that any of this was sustainable. We were dealing with record inflation. It was obvious, right? We had multiple stimulus checks. What was the first thing Biden did as soon as he got to office? He gave out another stimulus check. So that was the third. Then you had multiple rounds of stimulus itself. I do think that's in part why Kevin McCarthy is out of a job. I mean, the Republicans, they were not willing to control any of the spending either. And so all of this money printing kept happening. All while simultaneously, the Federal Reserve was also printing money to the tune of no time. I mean, like, it was like, guys, seriously? Like, you're just going to keep doing this and leaving rates so low. So you just flooded the system with cash. And people were home for so long. They had pent up demand. They wanted to get out there and travel finally. And so they did. And they did, and they did, and they did. And prices just kept going up and away. And even if you say, okay, maybe they're settling out here, maybe inflation is not going to go up as much. Don't forget, you're still up some 16% from when Joe Biden first came to office. And if you look at it on an apples to apples basis, like back how it would have looked in the 1970s before they changed the metric and they removed housing as a component that they looked at, et cetera. I'm getting kind of wonky on you here, but bear with me. If you look at that on an apples to apples basis, you're really looking at inflation that is far more in line with what we saw in the late 70s pre-Ronald Reagan. And so with that in mind, you just have to think, what happened to Carter? I told you it would be Carter 2.0. I remember did a segment called Carter 2.0. That's what we were looking at. Or Welcome Back, Carter, which was actually a weird 70s show, I think. Yeah, not Carter, Cotter, Kotter. Anyway, that's how it feels. It feels like we're right back in the 70s and we don't quite have the bell bottoms. Now we get skinny tapered jeans instead. But that's the path we've been on. And without a real change at the top, it'll continue. And we're talking conservative change at the top, okay? Because none of the liberals are actually going to want to stop printing money. Why should they, right? Like, you just give a little over here and a little over there, and before you know it, you're in, it's Marie Antoinette's let them eat cake. We just keep doling it out. Doesn't matter if it's not worth anything, but yeah, before you know it, you're in sort of Weimar Germany. People are going to be like taking wheelbarrows worth of cash. I mean, fortunately, we have plastic now. So the plastic, you can carry that, but you can't. And that's the reality. And I think it's going to come back to haunt him in a massive way. I don't know how they can run Joe Biden for president.